So this is an unprecedented step.
It's not only for Indian judiciary but for Indian democracy.
Their conscience has been pricking them, and that's why they have chosen to take this unprecedented step.
The Chief Justice has been abusing and misusing his administrative power as master of roster.
The Chief Justice, that certain things are not in order, therefore he should take remedial measures. Unfortunately, our efforts failed.
I think all four should be impeached. They should be set up.
You must have heard the term Friday blockbuster. Friday is the day when a new film releases. Today's blockbuster came from the Supreme Court, the top court in the country. The four judges, Justice Chelameshwar, Justice Ranjan Gogoi, Justice Lokur and Justice Kurian Joseph, criticized their own colleague, the Chief Justice of India, before the media, and they raised some concerns over how cases are being allocated to different judges in India's top court. Listen to what they said first.
The administration is an extraordinary event in the history of any nation, and more particularly this nation, and extraordinary event in the history of this institution of judiciary. It is with no pleasure in our hearts we were compelled to take this decision to call for a press conference. For some time, the administration of the Supreme Court is not in order. Many things which are less than desirable which have happened in the last few months. Time and again, as senior members of the court, and goes without saying that we are the senior most judges of the country also by virtue of age and our office today, senior judges, we thought we owed a responsibility to the institution, to the nation. We tried to collectively persuade the Chief Justice that certain things are not in order, therefore he should take remedial measures. Unfortunately, our efforts failed.
Later, a letter was released to the media, the images of which you're seeing on your screen. This is the letter the judges had written to the Chief Justice a few months back. It raised issues over lack of transparency in selection of judges to try some specific cases. A response from the Chief Justice was expected earlier today. He hasn't spoken yet. Meanwhile, WION has learnt that the Prime Minister's office has held meetings with the law minister and the country's law officer. This press conference has now sparked a political slugfest too. The Congress party, which is the opposition party, is expected to push the government after top judges of the Supreme Court complained against the Chief Justice. They're expected to hold a press conference in about half an hour from now. Meanwhile, D. Raja, the leader from the Communist Party of India, Marxist CPIM, has sparked another row after he was spotted meeting Justice Chelameshwar right before this press conference.
Step taken by the four judges is an extraordinary step. Never before we saw such a development in our judiciary in the post-independent India. It is an extraordinary step they have taken. It shows the deep crisis in our judiciary.
This issue has divided not just the top judiciary of the country, but people at large. While one section says it was the right thing to go public and express their concerns, others say that washing dirty linen in public undermines the authority of the judiciary. And a lot of people have weighed in on this, including senior advocate and Congress leader Salman Khurshid. This is what he told WION's Jessica Taneja.
We have with us Mr. Salman Khurshid. Sir, what do you make of the four judges coming out today and saying that they don't agree with the collegium and certain decisions that the Chief Justice of India takes?
I feel deeply distressed, and I believe all counsel who are associated with this court and who admire this court enormously would feel extremely pained and anguished about what has happened. I can understand that things must have got to such a pass because what the judges did 4 senior judges did is not something that you would ordinarily do, and that's not something that they would have been comfortable in doing. But now that they have done it, they've come before the media, they've come before the country and expressed their disquiet. I genuinely and seriously and sincerely hope that the court will find a solution within itself, that there will not be interference or attempt by outsiders to take advantage of what appears to be a crack within the unity of the court, and that the court will find a solution.
It's for the first time in the history of this country we've seen this happen. And also the fact that we heard Justice Chelameshwar say that there are certain doubts in being raised on the integrity of this supreme institution. We want to tell the nation that things need to be clean. The Chief Justice needs to do things a little differently. He said it outright. What would those things really be?
Well, I mean, he's the best person to say so. We hear a lot of things as well, but that's the nature of gossip that you hear in the corridors of the courts and of corridors of power. There are people, there are activist lawyers who have raised issues before the judges themselves. Some have been accepted, some have been rejected. Obviously, if 4 senior judges feel such a serious disquiet as to come in front of the media, then it's not something to be shoved under the carpet. There must be something very serious that they have felt, and I believe, therefore, it is an urgent requirement of this court, led by the Chief Justice, to find a solution and put an end to their disquiet and let the court get back to normalcy as quickly as possible.
Right. Get the court back to normalcy as quickly as possible. It's what Mr. Salman Khurshid says, and he believes that these issues should be addressed because they've been raised by foremost senior judges of the Supreme Court. This is the first time in the history that this has happened. With video journalist Ankit Singh, Jessica Taneja for WION in New Delhi.
As the second senior-most judge, Justice Chelameshwar was part of the collegium that selected judges to the Apex Court as well as the High Court. But he's reported to have had differences over the way the collegium was picking judges and had written to the then Chief Justice earlier as well. He's also reported to have pointed out how there was bias in the selection of judges and how the Chief Justice had often brushed aside the advice of collegium members. So what is the collegium and what is this dispute all about?
History of any nation, and more particularly this nation, an extraordinary event in the history of this institution of judiciary. It is with no pleasure.
It's a system, of course, for the selection of judges, and the government of the day has been saying that the political leadership should have a role in the selection, and that has led to a fair bit of controversy as well. Meanwhile, the government has said that the crisis should be resolved by the judiciary itself. Attorney General K.K. Venugopal was quoted as saying that the judges could have avoided holding this press conference. He hoped that they would rise to the occasion and neutralize the crisis. He said, and I'm quoting, "What has happened today could have been avoided. The judges will now have to act in statesmanship and ensure that the divisiveness is wholly neutralized and total harmony and mutual understanding will prevail in future." This is the second big blockbuster of the day. The Indian Space and Research Organization, better known as ISRO, created history yet again. The Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, or PSLV, lifted off at 9:29 a.m., in fact, from Sriharikota in South India. The rocket was carrying India's 100th satellite along with 30 others out of the 31. 3 are Indian, in fact. The other 28 are from Canada, Finland, France, South Korea, US and the UK. The Indian satellites include the 710-kilogram Cartosat-2 series for Earth observation. The Cartosat-2 series would orbit around the Earth for 5 years. These satellites have the objective of providing high-resolution scene-specific spot imagery, which will be used for land information system and geographical information system based applications. The other two satellites are 100 kilo microsatellites and a 5 kilogram nanosatellite. The total weight of all these satellites on board the rocket is about 1,323 kilograms. The Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has tweeted on the historic event, and I'm quoting, "My heartiest congratulations to ISRO and its scientists on the successful launch of PSLV today. The success in the new year will bring benefits of the country's rapid strides in space technology to our citizens, farmers, fishermen, etc. This first satellite launch in 2018 on the back of PSLV C-40 comes 4 months after a similar rocket failed to deliver the country's 8th navigation satellite in the Earth's lower orbit. That happened on the 31st of August 2017.
Now, the PSLV's capability of putting multiple satellites into orbit and satellites into multiple orbit. So both of them are being done in a single mission practically. So progressively PSLV has better and better capabilities. That's why you also saw, though there was a failure last time, 28 customer satellites, they had the confidence that PSLV will function satisfactorily.
Say that it's of course an excellent day for ISRO, but this is something that they have become used to, and they have been working towards it. It's not come easy. They have been working towards it, and it's only a reiteration of how far India is going in this entire business of launching satellites.
Certainly this is a historic day for us and a great headway actually for India, and I would say that it is also to a great extent the personal indulgence, personal intervention, the kind of inspiration and patronage which was available from Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi over the last 3-4 years, that one after the other, Team ISRO, the space scientists of India, have registered one success after the other.
The 100th satellite successfully launched in orbit marks a clear positive landmark for the Indian Space Research Organisation. Delhi has become one of the most prominent players in the international satellite launch business, with several foreign countries relying on its platforms to launch their satellites. Beyond the border in Pakistan, the launch of 31 satellites in the early hours of the day was not welcomed, of course. Pakistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mohammad Faisal said, and I quote, "All space technologies, including Earth observation satellites, are inherently dual use and can be employed for both civilian and military purposes." The Pakistani Foreign Office showed that it was worried about the possibility of Indian build-up and thereby destabilizing military capabilities. Islamabad is worried that New Delhi could use its satellites to spy on their activities. Among the satellites India launched today, there is a microsatellite weighing only 5 kilos. It has a new technology which can capture high-resolution images at night. India's extensive satellite observation on its borders had started in 2012 with the launch of the RESAT-1. 5 years down the line, New Delhi has a fleet of 14 satellites which can be used both for military and civilian purposes.